do want to welcome you to this introductory course. It's one of the first courses in the GRC program. And a lot of you in this class are taking this because it's required for a graphic communications degree. And I'll show you a little bit later when we're talking about you introducing yourself, a list of everybody in the two classes that I'm talking to in this presentation. And how many of you who are not in the major? And that's because this class is being offered also as a general education credit. So we've increased our enrollment and give people a reason to take this other than, oh, it's interesting, but they can get some credit for graduation. So that's why we're having a few more people in this class. And I want to know about those kind of people so that I can address the things you want to know and why you're taking this class about computer graphics. It's getting to be a skill that's more and more profitable for many careers, even though you may not be training to be an actual graphic designer. So there are 5 classes that you don't have any prerequisites, and this is one of them. GRC 101, 103, 104. I teach that also. That's layout and typography. And 107 and 110. But this is a great one to take at the very beginning because it's pretty much a software class, but it's not, well, put it this way, the emphasis in the name is on computer, not on graphics. It's not a graphics class like layout and typography, or a photography class, or a design class, where you deal more with the visuals. This is about the tools, the digital tools, the graphics. And so, yeah, we deal with graphics, but as we create them with the computer. And so this first week, we're going to be talking about, computers, hardware, software, using them effectively for doing computer graphics as well as communicating with others. And a lot of you already have these skills, but this first exercise, what I'll be explaining to you tonight, which you can easily do by the end of this week, is just to assure me that you have some of the basic skills. So you might find it very easy to do this first project and just bang it out. For those of you that it's not, then it becomes maybe what we would call remedial. I don't think anybody has to learn how to make an attachment to an email. That's pretty ubiquitous, but there's some issues involved with transmitting files and capturing images from the screen and things like that, that even though you might feel comfortable using a computer, you really might not have mastered the full benefit of what we're going to talk about this first week. Okay, so it's all about computers, but after this first week, it's just pretty much about software. And we're going to be learning the basics of Adobe Creative Suite. Used to be called the Creative Design Suite. Now it's the Creative Cloud, and when you subscribe to it, you get access to every single software that Adobe has. It's kind of like paying $100 for cable with 1,000 channels, and you only watch 3 channels, So anyway, but a little bit more of that later. Let me introduce myself here. You haven't picked up that. The last name's Canet, but you can say Canet because actually in German, it's a German name, it's Canet. I didn't know that until I finally ran into and found out about some of my German relatives here. It's kind of interesting. There aren't too many Canets in this country. There's only 3 little lines of Canets, and in my line, the name is only kept going because there's 2 boys in every line, and only one of them has kids. And he has 2 boys, and only one of them has kids. And generation after generation, just barely keeping the name on my line alive. Anyway, so they tell me it's Canet, but Canet. And I've been here for a while at CSN. I've been through the Clark County Community College, and then the Community College of Southern Nevada, and then they change it to the CSN now. Now, I appreciate, you can call me anything you want, but I guess Professor Canet would be the more formal way. Don't call me Dr. Canet. Some people do that. I know they they want to be respectful, and they assume because we have a lot of doctorates on campus, but I don't have a doctorate, just a small detail. Now, if I were really good at basketball and that, you call me Dr. K, or, I understand that kind of a term, but I don't have a PhD. But what is appropriate, I do have a master's. Don't have a doctorate, I have a master's. So you can call me Master Canet, okay? And that would be okay, or Master Ed. Yeah. Anyway, cue the laughter sign. Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of monikers that end in ed. And so distance ed, you've heard of distance ed, right? That's what we're doing right now. That would be a more appropriate one. However, I'm not sure because I don't want you to think that I'm like remote to you in the sense that I'm not approachable.
Physical ed.
Physical ed, yeah, physical ed. When I learned I was learning to drive my car, I was driver's ed. When I got married, my wife referred to me as, well, I'm not going to go there. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, ed. You put ed on the end of any name, any verb, and it means past tense, had. It's a has been. And then that medical term that came up, ed. Yeah. Well, anyway, and let's later on, if we got some time, I'll tell you that about Mr. Ed. I think Laura probably would laugh at that, wouldn't you, Laura? If I referred to Mr. Ed, you would get that, right? I can't hear your microphone's off. But you're that generation that would understand it's from a term from a black and white TV show called Mr. Ed. Anyway, so we want to get to know each other a little bit more. Let me tell you something about me. I'm going to ask you, some of you I've noticed, I haven't read all those and responded to some of them, but I've read a little bit about you in the Get to Know Yourself. And you tell you a little bit about yourself, what's unusual about you. And I'm an arenaphile. And that's a new term probably to a lot of people. It's the Latin term, but that's what sand collectors call themselves. Sand collectors? What is that? Is that an occupation? No, basically, thus the hat. I started out by collecting soil. My kids say I collect dirt. I do that whenever I work outside. But I collect soil samples, and that goes back to something I saw in ninth grade. But later I found out that a lot of people do collect and trade sand. And of course, I've got over 1,700 samples, most of which I've collected. You can see the ones here in the upper right-hand corner. Some of you might have a little collection like this because it's from a beach or a favorite place you went on vacation. There are a lot of those kind of sand collectors. These are large volume because I have extra to trade them, but just a little samples, just kind of small. And my kids bought me a macroscope to take pictures of some of these sand. This is a very valuable sand from Guam, only one of 3 places in the world. It's called star sand. Every little grain of sand is. Anyway, don't get me going on this. It's kind of neat. But once you hold up the sand and you look at all the details around a microscope, it's fascinating, as is the details of everything is fascinating when you see it. I love electron microscope pictures of insects and stuff like that. These are all my other interests. Of course, my family's my top interest. We've got 6 kids, and they have so far produced 20 kids for my wife and I, 20 grandkids, and we're going to go get to see some of those this weekend. But I teach the typography class. I love typography, and I have a special room, my sand room or my man cave, whatever you want to call it. And that's where I have all my collections in there. And I also collect ampersands. This is what this is. This is an ampersand. It's an and sign. And so because I like typography and sand, I named my room the Ampersand. And I even have curtains with ampersand prints on them. Yeah, I know. We're all kind of a little different in a certain way. And that's why, let me know something unusual about you, because then you can remember people a little bit easier. Now, so in the getting to know you, for those of you who haven't done that one, you'll do that. Now, I compiled here a list of degrees of the students from both classes. You can see the bulk are for graphic design. In the graphic communications degree is broken into 2 degrees, really, web design and graphic design. And usually the graphic design is geared to like print. And so a couple of you are interested in web design. Final project in this course, you're going to learn how to make graphics in Illustrator. You're going to learn how to make graphics and manipulate them and edit them in Photoshop, and then how to assemble them into a layout program called InDesign. And your final project will be a newsletter or a website. You'll design one and put it together with the content you're going to create and gather together. So there's something there for all those in the degrees in our program. But look at how many others are not. Almost half of you are taking this for some other reason. Now, personal enrichment is a very interesting reason to take this. Sometimes that might mean that that person hasn't really declared a major yet. And sometimes maybe if you are listed as a social behavioral science major, maybe you decide to switch over here, whatever it is. But it's interesting to see the variety here. I would encourage you to go into my CSN and change your major there. I think you can do it through there so that it's up to date and kind of accurate for that. So anyway, so let's talk about attending this class and participating in this class and how you receive points toward your final tally, because the number of points you gather in this class at the very end of the course will dictate your final grade. And I don't give grades, I assign them. Okay. I do assign some A's, like each class gets an A, and then each class gets a B, and then there'll be a lot of C's. I'm just kidding you. Everybody gets an A if they earn the A. And I'll talk to you about how you can do that one. The attending is, you're doing that right now for those of you who showed up live here. It's like you showing up in the campus. This is synchronous learning. I can ask you questions, you can respond immediately. Like, any questions about that? Okay. 1, 2, couple nods, little smile. It's subtle, but it's feedback immediately. And so I can ask you some questions and you can raise your hand. And so that's what's really nice, why I want to give most of you as much as possible the opportunity to meet on here. I was mentioning earlier before I started recording, I did start the recording, didn't I? Yes. I don't want to panic. I gave a 2-hour lecture one time, and then I forgot to record it. I had to go back and do it after the class was over for those who didn't show up. But 16, I think, said from the 2 classes that I am presenting to that they could show up at this time. 8 showed up. Half of you did. And then there's all the others that haven't. If somebody asked me if we're just going to meet at this time all the time, we could. And if everyone who said they could show up at this time and they really meant it, they were honest and they were available, then they can show up to this. And if they want that kind of an opportunity, experience it a little bit better. So attending this or watching the recording that I'm making is mandatory. You need to get the content and to participate in that way. It's like class attendance. And then you're going to report on that in the discussion forums. And in there, I'll give you your points. You get 2 points for that. Excuse me. Now, the participation part is like if you're in class where you can, yeah, there's some participation in this class here, but you have a discussion forums that you get a chance to interact with me and with your classes, which is a lot like what most online classes are. And that's what we would refer to as an asynchronous environment. Online learning is asynchronous. Distance education is synchronous because they're all here at the same time, but we're just remote from each other. So some of you are going to be attending this with a distance education experience, and some of you are going to be watching it with an online learning experience. You get a couple points for participation and responding that you did that and answering some of the questions here. So as it stands now, this is when we're going to be meeting. I have another class that starts at 8 o'clock tonight. That gives an hour between. I usually like to stay over. And technically, if you were meeting on campus, it would be from 5 to 6:40. twice a week. But we're only meeting once, so I have a couple hours here. I'm willing to stay afterwards if you want to linger, but sometimes I might be pressed and want to give you a heads up on that one. Now, these reports I'm telling you about on this too, so I can give you the correct attendance, because I'm not taking attendance here. They're due by Thursday. And that means if you haven't handed in by Thursday, and I can take a list, we're getting almost near the end of the week, and you haven't even had evidence that you showed up to class. So I get a little worried about that, and I just want to make sure that you have at least had that experience. Those of you who attended tonight, you could log off after we're done and just say, hey, I attended. I had a microphone, I had my camera on, and boom, you get the 2 points. You have to show up with a microphone to get the point. And if you show up with a camera, you get, here, wait for it, an extra credit point. That's 15 extra credits points toward the end toward your final grade, just by showing up every week with them. And there's a way that when you do your reporting, you can earn an extra point there too. That policy's, I'm not going to go over because there's a lot of stuff's already online. Now, I mentioned this survey that I took, and that's why Tuesday's the best. However, there is another time slot, and I'm going to be asking for you to comment on that too. But I'll pose that in an announcement, and then the announcement will allow you to comment. You could say, yeah, I would attend at another time, like Monday evening. A lot of you, about as many, can attend Monday evening. And here is another option. They could both be open. So maybe on Monday evening, we would have this introduction for the whole week, going over the stuff in the modules. And then on Tuesday, we do a follow-up, like a lab session, where I'm doing some demonstrations. I'm giving you feedback on the work you did, answering questions, kind of follow-up stuff, and not really no new material, but that's where the real learning can be. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so now this participation policy, you'll see in the discussion forums, you'll see these here, and this is from a while back. I could update this one, but the dates don't really matter. The point is that the 19th was the deadline, okay? That's the end of week 8, which lesson 8 was. And it was locked a week later. So in other words, you have a week after it's due before you can no longer respond and earn points. Now, we'll talk a little bit here about the late policy and how points get deducted in that. But nevertheless, that's what happens. As far as assignments go, same thing. You have an assignment due date, and then you have you also have an availability date. At the end of the availability date, that's when it's locked out. And that's usually 2 weeks after the due date. Why? Because, as I'll explain a little bit later, so you get it twice, you can resubmit any project to increase the score if you hand it in on time first. So you have 2 extra weeks. One, because after 2 weeks, if you haven't handed it in and it's late, it's not worth anything anymore. 0, so forget it. And you got 2 weeks to redo any work and improve on it based on the feedback you get or the critiquing or whatever it is. Okay. A lot of people say, hey, is there any extra credit here? Because I didn't do well on that project, and I want, can I do something to bring my grade up? Yeah, you can. Hand it in and fix the stuff that you didn't get right, because that's why the grade went down. So you have an opportunity for doing extra credit on every assignment, but there will be some additional ones on top of that one. Now I'll talk about, well, let's just talk about it here. Let's go to the grade book. Normally I don't look at the grade books because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but you can all share the embarrassment. Look at that. Every one of you guys have 0 points. Yeah, so let's see, who do we want to highlight today. Laura. Okay, here we go, Laura. Okay. Oh, she's doing 90%. I don't mean to embarrass you now. She's got, let's go take a look at her grades. What's that mean? Okay. Ah, interesting. She got a 9 out of 10 on the syllabus quiz. I'm glad to use this because you're a good example here, Laura. I don't know if you've tried getting into week 2, and I will make sure that it's set up properly, but I think I set it up properly. Until you get a 10 out of 10 on your syllabus quiz, you won't be able to have access to week 2 materials. So I don't know if you've tried that or not. So really the score is not so much counting towards your final score because everybody gets 10 out of 10 and it kind of washes out. It's to give you access. And I'll show you what I'm talking about when I get to the modules. But here it says this 90% is based on only the assignments that's been graded, the assignments that she's had a score for. Now notice right here, she submitted something. I just haven't graded it. So it doesn't count toward this. But if I check this off, she's got 0.67%. Now, I think it's pretty easy for you to say that that's a failing grade. That's not a grade for that assignment. That's a grade for the class. Well, it's not really a grade. It's the percentage of points you've earned out of all 600 total points you can possibly earn. So if you don't want to freak out, don't have that on. This tells you how you're doing from what you actually have been graded. Okay? This just tells you, look, until you get to 70%, which is a C minus, you haven't scored enough points to pass the class. You need to pass with a C minus to get credit for it if you're going for a GRC degree. Now, D minus, you might say, is passing for those of you that aren't GRC students, but really, that we're not shooting for C minuses or D minuses. I just want to let you know that you won't have, in fact, let's take a look here at the syllabus here as the grading on this one. You won't have enough points to pass until you have 420 points because there's 600 points total out of this whole. So until you get 420 points, you're not passing. Well, listen up. The last 2 weeks, you're handing in and having grading on work that's about 200 points of the total 600. 200. So you can see that you're not close, even if you did perfect, you're not close to passing. And what's really going to determine not only that you pass, but what grade you get is that last couple weeks. Now, if you haven't already earned 400 and some points like that before you get to that point, then you're struggling to, struggling. So, and another point I want to make with this system is like, let's say you show up every week and with a webcam and you earn 15 extra credit points just from that. Let's say your total points came out to be 522. So you barely got a B plus from the points you earned. But those extra credit points put you up to knocking at the door of an A minus, 3 points short of A minus. 15 points or 20 points can make the difference at the very end in jumping up one step the grade ladder. So you can see it's important that throughout the whole course, don't take the attitude like, well, I only lost 2 points in this one. Oh, I only lost 3 points. They add up and can make a difference on where you end up here in the end. So, and that's mostly for you grade mongers. But everyone should be concerned about where they stand, and I appreciate that. So here's how it's broken down. Your participation in this course is 1/10 of your grade. That's 60 points. What's 60 points? That's like 2 or 3 steps in the final. So it's a lot, and it's worth it. It's a make it or break it as far as where you end up in the final. And all of these are. However, almost 60% is from the learning activities, and that means those are the assignments that you're doing. All the others are kind of tests. That's about a 30% on tests. Now, one thing on the quizzes, you can take the quizzes 2 times. You get to see your answers before you take the second time. It's really not a test then, is it? It's just kind of like a worksheet, and then you make sure you got the right answers. And you can game the system if you want to, but it's an excellent opportunity I'm giving you to learn this stuff. Test yourself the first time. Or if you don't want to take it the second time, be sure you do well the first time. But practicums, 1 time. Final exam, 1 time. Final practicums, 1 time. And so you can see there's 125 points. Your final project's 100 points. 225 points out of 600 are that last week of the class. So yeah, stick to it. And I'm supposing you went through the syllabus. I understand that, hey, you know, everyone has the same kind of stuff. You scan through it, fine. I look at the syllabus, no big deal. But it's quite a significant document, and I want to make sure that you're aware on the left side of the screen is stuff that's for the school and important services, and it's there for your reference if you need it. If you've never looked at these on any of your other courses, I'd go through there and see all the ways that you can get some help. It's amazing the amount of services that college provides for you. I've added this under on-campus information. We're not meeting on campus, but you can go on campus. Maybe you want to go there and go to the computer lab because maybe you can't afford, or your computer broke down, and you know. Anyway, so there's the policy for that. And this here is for online classes. And so you might want to be wanting to read this one. I'm not going to go through everything here in the course information here, but I would kind of read it. Okay, this is the official in the catalog. Here's the way I describe the course. Okay, here's the official outcomes in the course. These are the what objectives that I want to do in the course, and there's the outline here of all the stuff that we're going to be breaking it down. You'll see this outline right here, the schedule, in two other forums. This one's the best, not because it's prettier. It's just easier to read and to see. This first week, and we're just doing things that are kind of dealing with connectivity, computing, stuff like that. The next 4 weeks, we're allocating to Illustrator. Then the next 5 weeks after that to Photoshop. And then the last software we're using is InDesign. We're doing 4 weeks for that. And then the last 2 weeks of the course is for reviewing and testing. And you have to the very end of the course here for your project. So you can see there's a lot of time here at the end to do the work and prepare for what's going to really determine your final grade, whether you pass the class, because there's so many points involved in that one. Okay, so let me show you where you also see this. When you go to the syllabus page, which is how you access that syllabus that I just showed you, the syllabus is in 2 forms. There's a PDF version. If you want to download it and print it, you can do that if you like a hard copy. But I was showing you the web-based because it's all very easily scrollable on that. But you can see here, there's the course summary again. It's not as easy to follow, but you can see it. The advantage of this one is it's very interactive. And you can see I'm still working on this because we're not doing 2 quizzes the same day. When I imported this from, well, one of these 2 classes, they just gave me a week before school started. And so I had to port it in. And every time I port in a class, import it from a previous semester, it's pretty much the same organized, but the dates change and it's just a lot of adjustments, and I still need to make it. So, but you can count on the first 2-3 weeks here, and you can see that you can easily go to any one thing, navigate it from this course summary. Now, another way of looking at this one, and that's through the course stream. Now, give me a little feedback here. Raise your hand. Are you new to Canvas, anyone? Okay, 1. Jack is? Or is your hand still up from the last time, Jack? I didn't notice. Okay. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. There are some resources that you can get a little more comfortable, but I'm kind of showing you how Canvas works, but how you set it up can vary, and I just want to make sure you understand how I've got this adjusted and how you can work on it. The modules, which are like folders, and they're broken up 1 per lesson. There's 2 of them this week because, one of them is the introduction. There's a module for that one. Got to go all the way through this one, complete these things. And look, it's about, somewhere here, syllabus, read and study the syllabus. Well, I kind of went over a lot of that kind of stuff, but you want to prepare yourself, which is due at the end of this week, for the syllabus quiz. And we saw that Laura has already done that. Now, let me show you this. This syllabus quiz, let's see. Lesson 1, I haven't set this up correctly, but I'll let you watch me, okay? And this is how they're all going to be set up. There's a prerequisite for this one, and that is you need to go through here. That means you've gone through and looked at all the stuff, and that's a prerequisite, okay, to get into lesson 1. Makes sense. Now, the requirements for lesson 1, okay, you are going to need to, this week, by Saturday, answer discussion points, because that's a grading thing. You have to do it. It's a requirement. Also required is you're going to report on attending or watching this session. And it's also going to be required that you do the syllabus quiz, which, woohoo, Laura has already met that requirement. We saw that she took it. However, she didn't know at that time. She's going to have to take it again. Why? Because what do I have to do? Here you have to contribute to the page. Here you got to contribute to the page. And here you got to get a score of at least 10 out of 10. Laura, 9 out of 10 didn't cut it. Maybe you missed one question. A really critical point that I want you to understand about the syllabus. So just go back in and fix that, and then you'll get access to it. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's how these are all going to be set up. So now, notice it says you have prerequisites. You've got to take introduction to the course, start here. That's your prerequisites. That's how it's set up. Some of you might have got away with that one because I haven't set it up yet. And you want to complete all the ideas. Now, what's required for this, you can't see there, but I'm going to come up here and on week 2 saying that you have required to complete lesson 1. Well, what does that mean? Everything that's required right here, see where it says, follow must be submitted to access the next module. The next module is going to be locked down until you have met the criteria of these requirements from that. Any questions on that? That's the way it's going to be set up. Yes, Laura. Make sure your mic's on.
So I can't go to the next level. I have to get a 10 out of 10 on the one I just did, or
you know what I'm going to do for you, because you're an early responder. And we've learned that early responder are heroes. They're heroes, right? So I'll just go in there. I'll go in there and I will mark your score as 10 out of 10 so that you've met the requirement and prevent you from doing that. But I would go back in and take a look at what did you miss, just so you know. Okay. See,
I know.
What a good guy I am, right? See, I want you to feel comfortable and don't assume that these policies are set in stone and you're going to die by them. Yes, I'm going to hold you to that one, but if I can save you some time without shortcutting your effort, then I'll do that. And that's what I've just tried to explain to you right here. So you won't have to go back and do that. And right now, if you try to get into lesson 2 while we're talking, you won't be able to do it until I give you that perfect score. Okay, and then there'll be some requirements for lesson 2. And it's the same thing. Every semester, everyone, you do the discussion points for that particular week. You report on that particular week, and you have to, contribute to it somewhere. I don't care what your points are, okay? And these are required for this one. And I will be setting up for lesson 3. You won't be able to get into lesson 3 until you've done these. Well, now, if you want to, yeah, but I don't know that you can get into here until you've gotten into here. Yeah, anyway, I think you can see how I'm showing you. I'm, in a way, not forcing you to do stuff. I'm just preventing you from not doing stuff. I just want to make sure you keep on track and do the things that really needs to be done. Now, I don't have on here that you have to take quizzes. You have to hand in your assignments. I should require you to do that before you go on to the next one. And I'm not doing that because you might be behind and you're late. And now I'm penalizing you that you can't even keep up, because until you hand it in and get a grade, you can't even get into the current one. So that doesn't seem fair. But you can answer a simple question and you can report whether you attended. You could say, I don't know, and no, I didn't attend. And you can move on to the next one. You've lost a couple of points. The policy is so that you can move ahead, but that you are participating as you go along. So, okay, so I'll get back to that as we talk about a few other things. I guess I'm going to get back to you because we're going to talk about missed. Yes, I didn't. That's one thing that I missed talking about when we were in the grades. So I'm going to go back to the grades again. And hey, lo and behold, Laura, I'll change that right now. Let's see. Where'd your name go? Your name's not there. Why? Because I went into a different grade book. Remember, I told you that there's 2 different classes here. See, there's the 101, the 1001, and the 1002. And these are the ones that I'm addressing as like one class. Now, I could have e-learning combine these into one class and have twice as long. However, the classes are a little bit different, and sometimes they have different personality, and I'd like to kind of package them a little bit more, and still, when it comes to giving you feedback and that, be a little more intimate when I'm just working with one group at a time like here. Okay, so let's go back to Laura's, and I wanted to show you something here about grades. For one thing here, I don't think I can change it here. I'll have to go in and change it a little bit later for you, Matt. But if you ever have something here, it says missed. That means that the due date, this has passed, okay? And you didn't submit anything. Now, I've had students, and I'll get back to this again when it's a little more appropriate. When you're handing in that first assignment, I'll show you how to do it. And there's a place you could submit your work without literally submitting your work. And if you don't do it right, this is all computerized. I'm not doing this. I'm not putting in there missed. You might say, I handed it in. I sent it to you, Ed, just like you said to send it because, and it says missed. Well, I'll fix that, okay? It's just letting you know that the computer picked up on the fact that this date passed and there's nothing submitted in there. Or if it says late, this has passed, and then you submitted something in there after that date. And then it will automatically assign to you a 2% penalty per day it's late. Okay? So if any time that something's kind of worrisome there and and you're not aware that, yeah, I missed that assignment or yeah, that was late. If you got any questions, please let me know. We'll take care of that. And it's not me giving you the penalty, it's the program, and I can compensate for that if it were somehow by a mistake. Now, after 2 weeks, you can't hand it in anymore, and so that's like 50% of the points, or I think I give you 0. If you haven't submitted something after 2 weeks and it's no longer submittable, you get a 0 there. Now, by the way, at the very end of the semester, and I don't need to tell you, I'm taking up too much of your time here because there's just a few exceptions, but maybe I'll bring it up as an example of how I'm willing to work with you. If you completely miss an assignment, you got a 0 on it, and you got enough time without hurting the final projects and all that, you can hand it in at the very end of the semester. And whatever you get half of those points. So the penalty is 50%, but it's more than 0%. It's somewhat of like half of a grace. Okay, so I don't think I have anything more on that one. Let me go through this slide set here. So this week, this is what we're doing. You get to know me. You probably know enough about me, then okay, fine, let's move on in. And the course, and and how the curriculum is working. More of that before the end of this this session here, but that's what we're doing here. These class sessions will kind of follow this kind of criteria. Okay, I will open up if there's any questions from the material that you've read or the videos that you've watched or something from last week or whatever you've been looking at in the modules. I would encourage you to show up prepared. You'll do a lot better than, look, I'm going to show up and then Ed's going to show me what I should know. And then I'll know everything and then I won't have to read the stuff. It doesn't work that way. I'm going to give an overview of major points. And if there's some detail I need to drill down into, even though it might be in a video or something else, I can kind of demonstrate that. Or if you're critiquing something or a question comes up, then that might lead me to go a little bit more. But I'm not going to be lecturing you on all the stuff that's already in the module. If I forgot to put something in the module, I'll probably explain a little bit more and then afterwards put that in there. I'll also let you know, give you an idea where we're headed, what's coming up next week. The real learning is in the answers to the questions and the feedback on the critiques and the demonstrations that I'm going to give you. I would like to spend most of my class time when we're dealing with the software is how to use the software, of course, but how to have certain solutions to do the software. So we're going to be looking at the work you do in Illustrator and Photoshop. And wow, this is well done. Let's take a look, class, how well organized this particular file was, because I can find out how it was built. It's very easy for me to look at and to change. One of the big things is in Illustrator, everybody puts everything on one layer, which makes it very hard to take it apart and select it pieces. And I spend too much time figuring out how did you build the file so I can show you how to fix the file. It's not a good thing to say, if it looks okay on the screen, then the file is okay. That's not true. Okay, so I've already went over this one here with you. Let's talk a little bit about some more stuff that is in this that's required. I like talking about this stuff up here because it's free. Okay, this is what's required for the course. You must, as far as hardware and software, you must have access to the software. If you have a subscription to it and it's on your home computer and you've got a computer that will run the software, great. You click right here and this takes you to the website that shows you what's the minimum requirement for your machine to run the software. Here's what's recommended. Okay, you cannot use a tablet. You cannot run this software on a tablet. It won't run on a tablet. There's some things you can do in this class on a tablet, and a lot you can still do in this class from your mobile device, but you can't do the software. You have to have a computer, a personal computer. And so basically, if you don't have that, then you can come to school and use at any of the main campuses in the main computer lab. They're on the Mac or PCs, I'm sure, and also in the two high-tech centers, the satellites at, what is it, Green Valley High School and Summerlin High School. So that information, I do believe, is also in the left side of this. Anyway, but it's a lot more convenient to have it yourself, particularly if you're really trying to master the software. And so, but you have to have access to the software, because you can't use another graphics program in this class. For those of you who are, I hesitate saying if you're like doing this for personal reasons or you're in another major, I'm doing you a disservice if I let you do the stuff on other hard software, because it's not about doing the graphics, it's about using the tools. And that's one of the reasons you want to take this, is to learn Adobe, which is the industry standard. And so whatever you learn in Photoshop will also work on the mini version of Photoshop, which a lot of people can own for a lot less. Now, also, you're required to have access to these books. The good thing about these books here is when you click on this link right here, it takes you to this book and it's online. The complete book is on this line. So the links to some of the readings, you're not reading the entire book. You could, it's a masterful book. This is the 2014 release. Like, well, that's pretty dated. Is that going to be any good for this class? Yeah. The basic parts of the software that you're going to be dealing with and learning in this class, not the advanced things. You can if you want to, and if you stumble across them, and if you want it, we can go beyond that, but it's not geared to that. Whatever was in the program in 2014 is what we're going to be dealing with, what's in the program and currently. Just, it's the same interface. And this is the best one. Look at best-selling one for textbooks of choice in classrooms and a Go tutorial. It's great for reference. It's like an encyclopedia. You can find stuff in it very easily, or you could read it like a textbook. I'm going to give parts that I tell you, hey, take a look at this one, and there'll be a link in there to go to this book, so it makes it very easy for you. If you really like the paper, which I do, having it right here when I'm looking at something and I'm working, buy the book. It's the best value. The number of pages and what it costs, it's a great deal. And then you can buy the upgraded version. But you don't have to buy the book. You don't have to rent the book. Okay, it's right here. And there's a whole bunch of other books in this this solution. It's by O'Reilly. It used to be called Safari Books Online. But you go here, and I've already logged onto it. So when I go to my home, you can see all the books that I've looked at least once, thumb through, and there's tons of them. And you might want to explore all the different subjects and topics there are in here, and particularly when it deals with design and web or mobile. Like look under design. Okay, what under design you might be interested in this one? Visual design, yeah, let's do visual design. And how are you going to break this down? Graphic design, yeah, we do some graphic design. Typography, a lot of good books. And there's a lot of things I can refer you to these books, but I'm just going to stick with those books that I'm requiring you to look at from the syllabus that's listed in the syllabus. So how do you get to those? Well, you do it through the Safari Books Online subscription, because it's a paid service. You have access to all these books that the library's home. So you can log on, and you should have access to this because you're using the same credentials you do to get onto Canvas. If you need some help on, it's not working for some reason, okay, then just do this. Go to, go to modules, and there are course resources here. There's technical tips, how to access these books online, and it gives you the instructions how to take them. And I'm going to show you that there are some videos that I'll be making videos, little snippets of videos on some of the software, but you're going to benefit from the demonstrations and the videos that I produce that deal with the software in the tasks you're going to do for the work I'm assigning to you. And so, but these videos are subscription too, like $30 a month. And they used to be called lynda.com. But with a library card, you have the credentials to go to that for free. So yes, I should put that in on the syllabus required, under required for this course, a library card from the Las Vegas Clark County Library District. Anybody not have one? Who doesn't have a library card? Okay, you don't have to check out books. You don't have to attend it. You just need a card. You need a number and a PIN. I don't know if you could do it online, but it's worth it just so you have access to the books for free. And of course, you need it to get to the readings that I'm requiring you to look at for this course. And so there's also how to embed your work in the critiquing discussion forums. You get an extra credit point is when you submit work for critiquing, everyone gets to see it and I can comment on it and everyone sees my comments. But you need to embed your work so that they don't have to download it and then open it up to see what you're doing. Nobody does that. If it's embedded right there, they go, oh, okay, and then they can read my comments. A lot of learning happens in critiquing. I think that that's where the real learning comes from. That's where the rubber hits the pavement. That's what gives you the traction and gets you moving, is the feedback on the critiques. And so how do you embed that? You click here and that tells you how you can embed that. And I can add to this as we need it to, but there's a lot of things in here that you might want to take a look at in these resources. You may not use them during very many of these, if any, during the semester once you get on track, but it's just nice to know what is there. Also, there is, in addition to the software videos, the training that's from LinkedIn Training, like I told you about, there are these other very, very fine ones that you can take a look at. Now, a lot of people, they've learned these software by just going online and doing these tutorials and that, and okay, and so why are you taking here when you can do it for free online and just go to YouTube? Well, you can't get credit for it. And for another thing is, it's slow and it's hard to do. It's not as organized a structure, and it's not as geared as to what this course is about in the projects that we're doing here. But they're good resources. As you look at those, I bookmark them just so you have them available. Now, also under course resources, and this is a really important one here, is this dictionary of terms. Okay. This is a web page, as you can see, that I've put together. It's interactive, and because it's a web page and it's not in your Canvas course, all 4 of my classes, in fact, all my classes has a link to this. And if there's a term that I mention in class or in the modules, a technical term, okay, and you don't know what that means, then go to the dictionary of terms. Just click on that link, go here, and you can see what it is. If the term is not here, you can get an extra credit point by submitting to me a term that's not on this dictionary list that I mentioned. That should be on here. You send me the term, look up the definition, send me the definition. I'm most likely to put my own definition or edit your definition, but you'll get a point for that. Okay? If I mention something today, like let's say I didn't mention Bezier, because that's very important when we talk about Illustrator, and it wasn't on there, the first one with a timestamp on their email would get the point. Not everybody. So anyway, so it's a great resource here. Scroll through this and take a look. I bet you most of you have heard of half these, and maybe some of you guys know most of these. DOS, man, that's an old term. We could maybe get rid of that term and it's not going to work, but Mac OS, this is old operating system and that. So we can maybe do away with it. Maybe put Mac OS there. Is Mac OS on here? You can see there's a lot of terms. Well, first one to write in, hey, Mac OS, and then look up the definition and send it to me, gets the extra credit point. And the instructions are to send it to me in my, what does it say? Email me here. which would be my CSN email address, and not in the email or the messaging in the inbox. That's part of the Canvas course. Okay. So, pretty good resources there. So, these required things, hardware, software, books, videos, all normally you would pay money for, are free. Now, I do recommend that you might want to get something like this for your computer. If you got, hey, I got a new computer and I want to learn how to use this software, and I'm just going to take Connect's class. Well, this same series, Visual Quick Start Guide, works great. This is an old version. It's free. There's like cougar, mountain lion. There's all kinds of different animal names since then. And the current one is, I don't know what the current one is. I don't have the current one is. See, my Mac, as you go up here, it is Catalina. I think there was Mojave, and they started naming it after places. I don't know what the current one is, and the reason I haven't updated it is the software that I use to create on-screen videos will not work with the updated, most recent system. And so until Nomia, which is what I use, until Nomia has fixed that, I'm not going to upgrade. But anyway, a lot of the interface is the same. And if you want to learn a little bit more about your Windows or whatever, then I would recommend you kind of do that one. And this is kind of getting old because I think by now everyone has probably, they can use Google Drive or Dropbox. Having USB drives is becoming a little bit dated. You got to carry around a piece of hardware so you can back up your files to it. And you have free access to, let me show you here, forget the part, OneDrive. And OneDrive is where you can put your files here. It's free. You get it from the college. This is where I put all my recordings. These sessions are recorded and they're uploaded. These are the uploadings for the 3 recordings I've done in my other classes. I'll download this one and then process it and embed it in your, well, I'll show you where it's embedded. This is for you who showed up now, so you'll know next time. For those that have already showed up, they won't be able to see how to do it unless they're watching this, and they might not have, anyway, the point is they've got to go right here. It says you have to attend or view this session, and it'll be right there embedded. You'll see it. You can click on it and go through it. So this will be available by tomorrow morning. And so if somebody hasn't gone through this, they won't know about it anyway. And I think that covers all the important stuff. And you can probably, you might be able to take that syllabus quiz and get it perfect on the first attempt. Yeah. Okay. Now, I put this in. This has nothing to do with the course, except it has everything to do with this course. It has everything to do with success in life, on the job, in your family, with your friends. Okay. These are some, and I didn't upload it here, so let me pull it up here really quick and just run through these. And it's a little bit more interesting than just reading the list. These are the 10 principles of success that will guarantee, almost guarantee, be successful in no matter what you do in life. And this is a picture of one of my students that finished this course. Didn't do very well in this course. In fact, not very well on the final exam. And this was taken like right after the final exam. So I'm sure a lot of you guys will be doing better off in this. And so it wasn't too successful. In fact, I think this is the most unsuccessful looking animal in the animal kingdom. At least I know he's won the ugliest animal contest, that's for sure. But I don't even know what it is. But let's talk about it. First thing is show up, which is what you're doing. And show up is not just coming to class, but it's, doing the readings, interacting in the forums, etc. That's what showing up is. Pay attention. It's not all about what you're telling other people now, but what's being told to you. Read all the materials, watch all the videos, read the announcements, go through everything. And so obviously, and ask questions here, okay? That dog on the right, I think someone said, wave, and he just held up his dog. You know, he's well trained. But that squirrel is hungry. Who wants a nut? Man, you can see that. He really wants it. And when you want the answer, you'll ask the question. And that's what I'm trying to get you to do. There's so many ways. Yes, on our homepage and on the syllabus is my phone number. You can call me on my cell. You can text me. Not many do that. I've not been burned by that, but I've had students who want a quick answer, boom, they got it, and then they can move on. Don't wait till you're in a very precarious situation before you get help, because you're going to spend so much time trying to recover, you're going to get in a deeper hole. At the first inclination, get some help. I get a student who says, I need some help. Well, what do you need? He says, I don't know everything. They don't even know what to ask for because they've let so many things go by without reaching out. Now, if you help others in responding to posts, and you'll do a lot of learning yourself, because if you haven't learned that already, this is why I teach, so I can learn, because you learn when you teach people. Yeah. Well, you need to know stuff to teach them, obviously, but when you're trying to explain thing or answer something, you're going to realize, gee, do I know that as well as I thought I did? Or maybe I got a little bit more. And part of your education is learning to know what you don't know. And most of the students will say, what do you need help with? And they say, I don't know. They don't even know enough to ask for what they need help in, because they've done very little. Attitude, I just got to adjust the attitude. A lot of people say I can't do masks in Illustrator. Well, you can't do it yet, but if you say I can't, and what you're really meaning is I just don't want to learn it, I don't want to do it, it's too hard. Okay, you adjust your attitude, you can do it. In fact, we usually don't like to do something because we're not good at it or we can't do it. And once we get to do it, man, we like it now. Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, I don't know which is the easiest for you. I'm amazed that some people say, well, this one's more easier than me. And I'm like, man, no, that one's easier for me to learn. We all look at how it's organized and structured. And I had a student one time, he was my lab aide, and he did everything in Photoshop. He was really good at Photoshop. He excelled in Photoshop. I asked him to put together a spreadsheet for me. He did it in Photoshop. It looked just like a spreadsheet. It wasn't interactive. It just looked like it. Okay. That was amazing. When you like a task, you will excel at it, but you don't have to like it to excel at it. You will when you do it, because you're doing it, learns it, then you like it, then you excel at it. Or then you excel at it and you like it. It's all related. This monkey, like that squirrel, really, you can see it in their eyes. I just don't get it. I'm just kind of confused. I really want to know now whether he seeks to understand that. Einstein said curiosity is way, way better than intelligence. And I've seen that over the 3 decades I've been teaching in my life. Some people that aren't that smart, I don't pick up things as easy. But if they're curious and they want to put forth the effort, they're way ahead of the curve that are those who are very smart and don't do anything about it. In other words, people who work usually do better than people who coast. And my favorite of the 10 rules is the problem is not the problem. The challenge, you say, I'm challenged on this. That's not the challenge. Or there's this barrier here. That's not the barrier. Okay. How you handle the problem, the challenge, the barrier. That's the issue here. Okay. And, if you can't get around it, go over it. Okay. And lastly, at the very end of things, you may have reasons to give up. Life gets a lot more complicated by the end of the semester than it was at the beginning of the semester. Okay, but don't quit. Please at least talk to me beforehand, if anything. Quitting on an assignment, quitting on the class. I'm here. Uh, you can count on me. I am the expert on helping you finish this course. I'm the only one that could do that. I'm the only one who can grade you, can pass you. Okay, so being the expert, it's kind of like this. Why wouldn't you want to ask the person who's going to be evaluating you how you're doing before you get evaluated, so that when you get evaluated, you can do a better job? Okay. Okay, so this is what's due this week. The syllabus quiz, of course, to have access to next week, but you're going to submit these two things by the end of this. Now, this is, you might take a little break, but no, I'm just going to barrel through this. I hope you're okay. Do you need to stand up and stretch? You know, do we need to do a course of heads, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes, knees and toes, head, shoulders, knees and toes, you know, stretch them. Okay, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to go get a drink here. So let's take a 5-minute break. Okay. And then I'll get to what this first exercise is about and the materials this week, the overview.
I think you're muted.
So while I'm waiting for people to come back from the break, I'll know they're back when the camera comes back on. I thought I would go through some slides. Normally I used to do these at the very beginning of the session while we're waiting for everybody to get here. But I thought for your viewing pleasure, you might find some entertainment to as we're waiting around here. Oh yes, I teach in North Las Vegas campus. I don't know where this meme came from, but the North Las Vegas campus used to have a reputation of being not a safe place to go, but I think it's a great place. I feel very safe on that campus, probably more than I do on the Charleston campus. But now I'll be bringing up some comments from Seth Godin. He is one of my go-to quotes generators. You can subscribe, go to his sethgodin.com. He's a prolific writer. He is kind of a guru in design, business, just general life wisdom. And so anyway, sometimes I'll share a quote from him. They're short, to the point. You can go to his website and subscribe and get a kind of a daily email from him. Very, very short. Some of them are a little lengthy. They're just powerful, but usually they're just a nice little thought for the day here. Okay. I'm hoping here that, let's see, Symphony is not back yet, and Laura's not back yet. I can't tell. No picture. Can you solve this problem? Move 3 matchsticks to create 9 squares. I have to struggle with this every time, and I can't remember the solution. If you're really good, you can see the little next slide right up here. It's probably not very clear. It'd be kind of cheating. But yeah.
Cool. Nudge pointed out. I might as well just,
yeah, okay. There we go. How you go? Okay. That's where it was. See, there's a square right there, and there's a square right there. Anyway, it's kind of thinking out of the box. In this case, might be thinking of the boxes. We're going to talk about creative solutions. That's what designing is about, is coming up with solutions. And some of them, don't know. This looks like, I don't know, you might do something like this in a dorm room or something, but I don't know. Really? I guess short people live in that house. Anyway, parting thoughts right here. I love animal memes. It's, somebody submits a picture and get caption this picture. The best caption wins something. Those are fun. Okay, it looks like we're back here for the most part. Now, exercise 1 deals with these aspects of computing and communicating. You're going to be contacting people as you work, obviously, clients, your boss, and you're learning a lot about this in this time where people are, being trained online and doing things remotely. But particularly, you need to do this because we deal with large files. How do you transmit large files and send them about so everybody can look at them? And how do you download stuff from the screen? Like, let's see, this slide right here. I like this picture. Look at that. See, if I can grab it, I can copy it. I'm going to show you a few things of how you can do that. And that's what this is about. Connectivity is one digital device can connect to another digital device. And it doesn't even have to be wired and that. So that's kind of what we're having you do this assignment. And these are the 3 questions that are being offered to you in the discussion points. Let's go to the discussion points and I'll show you where it is. Okay. Because I think I need to set these things up. Oh, I think I've already done that for you, didn't I? No, I didn't. Earlier class today. Okay. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be responding to this. This is what you refer to as a forum. And when you reply to something like that, you're creating a thread. And if you reply to the reply, you're just replying to the thread. And so I don't need you to, I'm going to make it easier for you. So I'm going to create a thread here of that question. And so if you want to answer that question, then you go to that thread and answer it. And then here's the second one. And so you see what I'm doing is what you're going to be doing. And that is you're going to be replying to a question. And I'm replying to the question by creating new threads for each question. And the reason I'm doing this is to make it a lot easier for you, because then you only have to answer one of these questions. And obviously, there are 16 people that are in your class. And I just want you answering the question and all the comments are there together instead of scrolled all over the place. I don't want it to be like Facebook where you got to scroll down and find that. Where's that thing somebody told me last week? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. And that way it makes it a lot easier for me grading and for finding answers. And you will get up to 2 points. Let me see if this is, see others post. Okay. I need to change that as well. Again, I'm all about making it a little bit easier for you. Okay. So you will receive up to 2 points for your comments. Either you're going to answer one of those questions outright to assure that you're the only one answering the question. You got to be one of the first 3 people, because if everybody answers a different question, it's already been answered. And here, most of the people are going to be ending up adding to the conversation, okay, without repeating the same answer, okay? And so that way I can read what a number of you have come up with as an answer to or a response to why you think it's important for a designer to learn as many ways of capturing and transmitting files. Don't write an essay. Now you're going to get up to 2 points. Oh my goodness. Nobody caught that, did they? Up to 2 points. You know, that number 2 is right near the S and it kind of looks like it. But okay, so you would answer that, and don't write a book about it just to get 2 points, but it needs to be significant enough. You want to say, because everyone else is doing it. Well, that's not going to get you 2 points. But then you don't want to tell the whole story, and then, now, what else is there to be said about that? Well, you might share an experience or something on the job and how it's helped you, or maybe you had a big project and you had to send it to the client or your boss, and he didn't know how to open it, or whatever it is. Okay. So you got 3. You need to know the answers to all these. You really do. Of all the things that we're learning in this lesson 1, you need to be answering this, but you only have to comment on one of them. Okay. Any one of these could be the basis of a quiz question or even the final exam. And so that's what that's about. And so that's not too bad for 2 points. And that's what this thing's about. And it's a little differently as I just changed them. Normally I go through these kind of slides at the beginning, and we kind of take care of some business, housekeeping, overhead, what do you want to call it? And I'll go over the calendar, and the calendar, as you know, is available right here. This is what you refer to in the course as the universal navigation, global. Yeah, we're staying to the planet, just the globe, not the entire universe, okay? Just the globe. It's the global navigation. And so right click on this one and you open up a separate tab, and then that's, I get out of my way here. Oh, well. And so you can see here, these are both of the two classes, and they're pretty much the same thing. Now, the heck? Why are you not showing up? August. Let's go to September. Oh, there we go. Go back to August. August has, I guess. Anyway, so you can see here that I mentioned that if we're going to elect to go on a Monday night, it won't be next Monday because it's a holiday. But you'll notice here at the end of the day, end of the week, that you have this is what you'll see. You'll either see that or you'll see that. Different color depends on what section you're in. And every week we have discussion points. You have to answer one of those. And every week there's a report on the session. Now, some weeks you're submitting assignments or some other things. Now, starting in week 5, and I mentioned that I haven't gotten to this one yet, but let's take a look at this one. This goes 2 weeks later, so let me just real quickly put it 2 weeks later. Okay, starting in week 5, at the end, you'll have a quiz that's due. Okay, and then the next week, you'll have a practicums due. And this should say practicum 1. Then you have a quiz, and then you say practicum, and it'll alternate all the way through pretty much the end of the semester. The quizzes, of course, test your knowledge, and the practicums test what you can do. They're small, little, tiny tasks to perform. The reason I mention this is the go-to place to go. If there's something in the text that talks about a date or some policy or when something's due, and it doesn't match up with the calendar, once I get the calendar fixed, like I said, I'm going to be doing that by this weekend. The calendar is what you want to count on. If there's a discrepancy between the two, you can bring that to my attention, and I'll make sure that I clarify that. I don't mean to confuse you on that. Sometimes I put very important information in 2 places, and it's off a little bit, and it gets confusing. I don't mean to do it that way. This I'm setting up so that it is, because when I set a quiz date, it pops up right there. When I set a date for when discussion points are due, it pops up right here. And so, yes, it will match up between the two. And of course, I've told you all the ways that you can communicate with me. I can't emphasize enough, just a brief text. You know, if it can be a 1-word or 1-sentence answer, you know, how do you do masks in Illustrator? Pretty simple, right? Okay. Be specific. Maybe you're saying, where do you find masking at? And I'll just tell you what menu it's under, or what pop-out menu. Or I might just say, 2 or more objects selected, the one in front masks the one behind. That's kind of a quick way of answering that. If you still don't understand that, at least maybe it can help you a little bit. Okay, so I talked to you about the calendar, and it'll be a little more, I will be populating with more stuff like when the virtual office hours are. And they're also on, I'm logged into the same place for my virtual office hours and the same place for all my classes. So anybody from any class can show up during my office hours. I only have 1 office on campus, and if 3 people from 3 different classes show up outside my door, I handle them one at a time. And they knock and enter, and it works the same way with the virtual office hour. You might want to take advantage of that. If no one else, usually not many people show up, you could be considered a, you know, like a personal tutoring or help session. Set notifications wherever you want to be notified. That's in the introduction module. And you can see here, like, if a due date is changed or posted, I want it emailed to me. Okay. If some announcement is a new announcement, I want it sent to everywhere. Okay. I don't want to miss that. So you can set that up for yourself. And I think I showed you setting up for the discussion forums, like technical problems and questions. If you subscribe to that, you'll get an announcement on that one too. So you want to make sure you keep in the loop here. On the discussion forums, whoops. I don't know if there's anything new here than what I've already told you about. This is what I see. I don't think that you see. This is from the past. There were 12 entries and I have 12 to grade. So I try to get this down to where it says 0 out of 12 have been unread. Okay. Right now, all these are unread. We would have to take care of them. Okay. So also this week in curriculum is about the internet. Now, how old is the internet? When did the internet come into existence? Now, this is ancient history for you guys. Not for Laura, but it might be because Laura might not have been interested in this kind of stuff when it first came out. In fact, hint, it came out before I was born. It came out before Laura became of age, an adult. But everyone else looks like you're 30 something under. It came out way before. The web is not the internet. You know that? The internet came out in about right after World War II. And it was so that in the event of a nuclear attack, the military could communicate no matter what lines were taken out. Because all the packets of information were all sent over, and then they knew where they were going to go, and they would find a way and they would reassemble it. From that, it became a great way for information data to be transferred from one university research department to another. It really didn't become well known until the web came out, and that wasn't until the 80s. And so that's why I say that. And if you didn't know that, you might say, well, that's just trivia, not a big deal. But not knowing that the web is really a small part of the internet. And you've heard of the dark web, that's part of the internet you mostly don't see. A lot of the internet you still don't see. But we call it that, the net, the internet, web. Web is about browsers being able to take a bunch of data, pictures and formatting and letters, and assemble it into a layout where it becomes very graphical. And so there's a few things in here about these terms and that. That's what we're talking about in this curriculum this week. So you're going to be learning how to download stuff from the web. Now, most of you are like, hey, this says download now, and you click on it and you download it. Well, suppose you don't have that. How would you download it? Suppose, for example, that, let me just go take an example here. Let's say, for example, you are right here, and let's see, that's not a good example. Oh, hush. Let's say I want to take a picture of some of this stuff. Okay, now watch this. I'm going to use my screenshot here, and I'm going to go, okay, there it is. And I've already watched this one, and I'm waiting for the picture to come up, and there it is. And I just took a picture of that. So, screen capture software. How do you, suppose you want to download, suppose you want to take a picture of that pop-out menu like that structure. You can't do it unless you do it with a certain technique. So there's some things you probably don't know of how of capturing things from the internet. Let's go take a look here at, let's go to CSN. And let's say I could do a screen capture this one, but that's the only way I can do it. Like, ooh, see, I can press and drag on this one. See, this file, when I loaded this window, this web page, a little graphic file was downloaded, okay, here. And then the HTML code told where to put it. I already have the file on my computer. It's in my RAM, but I want to get possession of it because I want to do something with it. Well, if I can pull it like this, then I know I can do that one. In this case, I could just drag it to my desktop. That would be one way of doing it. Double click on it. See, now I own it. Oh my goodness. It's got a different color background. The blue is HTML code, and that's the graphic. Okay. Another thing I could just right click on this one and say, save this image as. And now that's the name of that image that they put in on their code and got downloaded. So you might know a lot of the stuff, and that's fine. You can whip through this. I want to guarantee that you as a graphic designer need to know how to get stuff, move stuff, translate stuff, whatever. And so that's what this first exercise is about, is just to see what you can do. And there might be at least one half of one thing that you can't check off, and you might learn something. And for some of you that are like, all I know how to do is click, then this will be a real eye-opener, and it'll be a real bonus for you. Okay, so where was I? Back there we go. Okay, so and transmitting files, embedding files, storing files. And how many of you don't know what FTP is? You've never heard of FTP. Okay, there you go. Anastasia turned herself back on just to raise her hand. All right. Yeah, the point is, it's a technical geeky thing, but it's important for you to know why, because that's how you transfer files over the internet, not the web, the internet. I need to get a file from my computer to somebody else. Well, I'll attach it to an email. Suppose it's so big that you can't attach it to an email. Well, then I'll upload it to Google Drive. Suppose your client doesn't have Google Drive and he doesn't know very much about it, and you don't have to tell him how to subscribe to Google, so you could, so you've got to know all these ways of doing that so you can solve the problem in getting file from A to B or downloading something from the screen. You see what I'm saying? It's just so much part of, it's like driving a car. Really, can you get along in life without driving a car or knowing how to use a cell phone? And so that's what I'm making sure that you're doing in these things. There's a host of terms here that you may have heard of. You should know about them. You should be tech savvy enough, even though it's IP address is more of a computer programming thing and a technical thing. But let me tell you, because we use the computer, the internet, the web so much, people say, what's the IP address? And if you're like, what are you talking about? The web address. Oh, okay. See, you haven't made yourself look very intelligent if you don't know all these kind of things. Now, we're going to start getting into next week Illustrator, which is learning how to create vector objects. And we're going to start talking about what's the difference between bitmapped or raster images, which is what Photoshop does, and vector objects, vector graphics, which is what Illustrator does. And so that's kind of, this is the way it looks like. The pixels or rasters, when you get really, really close, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we'll talk about resolution and all that. These are some basic computer terms that are related to graphics, okay? Objects, when you go in very, very, very close, it's still as sharp as a tack or as sharp as the device, as the resolution of the device that you're looking at. And these are the softwares that deals with those things. We're doing Illustrator first because it's not, well, the Bezier tool for making paths is not, for those that are not familiar with, who's not familiar with the pen tool, Bezier curves, the Bezier tool? No? You all know that? Well, you should have been introduced to it in 103, right? Yeah. Did you notice the pen tool is kind of like, oh, that's kind of tough, huh? Yeah. Well, you maybe forgot about it. So to give you some, that tool is in Illustrator, Photoshop, it's even in InDesign. So to give you some most practice with that tool, we're going to deal with how the tool is used the best as creating vector paths. And that's why we're starting out with Adobe Illustrator. Later on, we're going to get into the Adobe workflow. These are all the pieces of software. Now, this is the final product, a PDF file. Now, that could be sent to the web, that could be sent to the printer, that could be attached to an email. And you can use other software in the Adobe workflow to create videos or animations, and that might end up in a PDF or some other form. But this is what we're concerned with, because these are the two graphics tools. They're called graphic editors. This is a vector graphic editor, and this is a raster graphic editor or a bitmap graphic editor. They create the two ways that we create all graphics. You either create them as, raster based or vector based, and these become the content, the images, the artwork that we'll bring into InDesign for page layouts, and then we can use Adobe Acrobat to prepare it for a PDF file for however you're going to distribute it. And we'll get a little bit into that, so not just the programs, but how they all fit together in like a suite. And the next week, and I'm giving the heads up here because, we meet next Tuesday, and you can move ahead and start looking at the basics of Illustrator as to, and we're working with the basic shape tools, the ellipse tools, the rectangle tools, the star shape tools, those kind of things. Any questions? Any answers? I got the answers if you got the questions. You might have the answers and I ask the questions, but I'd have to do it in reverse order first. Any comments? Okay, Joseph. The screen is yours. I can't say the floor is yours because we're not all on the same floor, but the screen is yours. What do you want to say? Okay, not good at reading lips. My oldest daughter, who's deaf, is really good at reading lips. You have to turn on your microphone. Unless you know some ASL, which I might know a little bit of. But for the sake of everyone else, we won't make you revert to having to type a text. You can see the wheels moving in his head. He's trying to get working. Anyway, I appreciate the question that you want to have, but it's important that you work on that one. Raise your hand later.
Can you hear me now?
Chirping in. And when I see your mouth moving and I hear something, I'll let you know. Otherwise.
Okay, so you still can't hear me?
Sometimes, thank you for being the poster child of technical difficulties. That happens sometimes. And you know what? Sometimes the only way is to get out and come in again and reconnect. Something happened on your end, and it's, it's your fault. It's all on you. It's not us. It's not on the way I've got it set up. Everyone else can talk. It's a personal problem that you have, Joseph. So deal with it, okay? And solve it, right?
Yep.
So no hard feelings if you can't ask the question, but why don't you type in if you can't figure that out, and somebody else can relay that to me. Anybody else has a question or a comment? Gable.
Oh. Did you? Oh.
Let me ask you something.
Oh,
could you guys hear?
Yeah, we could hear him.
Why didn't you tell me? It was me. I'm giving that guy a hard time.
I was like,
my
yeah,
speakers were off.
I don't know what.
Don't tell him that, okay? Shh, don't tell him. Did you get it fixed, Joseph? You didn't get it fixed? It was him. It was me too. I had my speakers off, but we still can't hear you now. Can you?
Yeah, he's muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Hello?
Oh, there. Dun, da, da, da. Okay, where's
Yeah,
my?
I was like, yeah, I could hear him. I don't know why.
Okay. Well,
Man.
Gabe's got his hand up, but we'll concede to you. You can ask your question since you've been a good sport about this.
Oh, I mean, my question was kind of stupid, but it
Oh,
was
good.
referring.
I'll give you a stupid answer. Those are
Okay,
good.
good, perfect. It was mainly about the live session that we're having right now. I noticed that one of the questions said, "Give the 3 session keywords of the session." Did I
Oh,
miss that from earlier?
oh, I missed when I was editing that. I missed it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I will be giving 3 keywords just to keep you awake throughout there. And the keywords are usually something to do with what we're talking about. And I usually have them in the slides, and I didn't give those. It's kind of evidence for those people online that they've gone through at least some of those. So so that you can report on it. If anybody reports there were no keywords, then that meets the criteria. But when I have the keywords, I will let you know, and you need to pick up on them. It'll probably be a little tiny word somewhere else or a word on the screen, not highlighted. And I'll say, here's the first keyword in the title. It's the second word. It's the word bitmap. That's the first keyword. And there's no way that you're going to get that unless you go through the whole thing. So it's kind of evidence of that. That's all. But thank you for bringing that up. And it's
I appreciate that.
my fault. I didn't catch that.
No, I was just going crazy. I was like, did it go over my head or something?
I
didn't notice that.
apologize for giving you a very smart answer to a dumb question.
I appreciate that.
Actually, it was a very, I'm going to turn this on you. It was a very smart question. And I
Oh,
gave a stupid answer. I was wrong. What person who's smart would admit they're wrong? I have no problem with admitting wrong. Yeah, it was my faux pas. So thanks for bringing that up and to remind me. But
all right. Thank
now
you, Professor.
for those that those that are watching this recording, now you know what to report and why there are no keywords for this this first session. Now, Gable, you got a question? Comment?
Yeah, actually, earlier when you were looking at the grade book, I didn't see some of our names that are in the meeting, and you brought up the fact that you have the session with 2 of your classes.
Yep, I did. You can keep talking while I'm showing you this.
So are the online lessons, I guess, are they with the other class? So the 1001 and the 1002, are we taking the same lessons at the same time?
They're both the same content, material, organization.
Yeah.
Everything's the same. I imported them one to the other. The only difference is, as you can see, if your name's not on this list, then your name would be on this list right here.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the deal. What is different is that in this particular class here, this is the same. All this poll was different. That was for the one class, okay? But it's all the same. The entire class is, and so when I save this, I will have to put this recording in both sessions, in both classes, so that they get the same recording, same questions, same everything. I grade and read and do everything separate, except here is an opportunity where students can meet from both and talk and interact. And it's so that I get more people showing up to these sessions and it becomes a little bit more lively. I mean, how do you have a brawl with 3 people? That's not a brawl. It's just like a fight. So,
Yeah.
no, that's not a good analogy, is it? No, it's not. That was not a good analogy. So,
Yeah, it was just one of the questions I had, because if these sessions are supposed to be collaborative, I wasn't sure if we were allowed to cross-pollinate, if that makes sense.
no, you're all watching the same one. Yeah.
Okay.
And that saves me some work, doesn't it? Plus, it gives me an opportunity to meet a second time with everybody. Instead of going through the same stuff, we can go through some more stuff. But at least you went through the bulk of the things. This, along with what's in the modules and the things that are there, which is the same no matter what section you are. Very, very good question to ask. And I'm sorry I didn't bring that up.